Now. So welcome everybody to our first meeting of the Safety Net Council for 2022. We are so happy that everyone can join us today on this very important topic. My name is Christina Muller-Shin. I am one of the co-chairs of the Safety Net Council. I work for Mason County Public Health doing on the behavioral health response, doing lots of predominantly harm reduction work. And my lovely co-chair is Malika Lamont. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Malika Lamont, and I'm the director of Vocal Washington, Voices of Community Activists and Leaders Washington, and also the director of the Lead Washington State Technical Assistance Team. I have worked with this group for quite some time, and I'm really happy to see you all. Happy 2022. Doesn't really feel like a new year. It's just kind of a continuation of what we've had going on. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. So we would like to start our meeting with our land acknowledgement before we move on. So first, we would like to acknowledge the First Nations people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial and who still inhabit and thrive in the area today. The Stay-Chas Band of the indigenous people of the Squaxin Island tribe, the Skokomish Nation, the people of the Chehalis, and the Nisqually tribes. So thank you. And I do have a request. If everyone is able to turn their cameras on, it is really difficult as a presenter to just speak to your own face. So if you're available, I know when I'm presenting, I thrive off of seeing people's reactions, and that helps guide. So thank you. Oh, it's so nice to see everyone here today. And for folks who did not, who are just joining us now, if you could please put your introductions in the chat. So your name, who you're working with, and your preferred pronouns. And Malika, would you like to give a little bit more of an introduction?
Yes. Can we change it so that speakers are highlighted so that when our speakers are speaking, we'll be able to see their faces too? I just realized that setting is different on this particular.
I don't know how to do that. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead and make me the co-host and I'll do it. Thanks everybody. The Safety Net Council has oftentimes in our community served as a place where emerging issues in our community are able to be highlighted and discussed amongst service providers, where people have come together to make creative solutions to the issues that we are seeing in our community. And we started hearing from people that are doing direct service work at a street level last year about an intensity in trafficking activity in our community. And so we realized that this was an issue that the Safety Net Council needed to raise up. And so in our last meeting in September, we invited the people that had been reporting what they were seeing from emerging organizations such as Firefly, and many others to come to the table and share with us what they were experiencing. And then so today, in the spirit of, we are a solutions-based group. We want to create solutions if there aren't already things happening in the community by bringing people together, because that's where the best work comes from. And so today we are inviting back Firefly to talk with us, Innovations in Human Trafficking Collaborative, and Youth Connections in Mason County. The individuals that will be talking with us today are Samantha Gilbertson, Jerry Muma, and Susan Kershaw, and they'll be sharing with us what their organizations are doing now and the gaps that they see in our community that could help us forward and create better and more solutions. So thank you and we would invite our speakers to share with us a deeper introduction of themselves. Thank you.
Malika, should we start with the presentations now, or do you want to have the panelists introduce themselves first?
Of course, we'll have the panelists introduce themselves first, and then we can.
Okay.
Or they can introduce themselves as they start their presentation, whichever works best for them.
Speakers, do you have a preference?
I don't have any.
Okay. Well, why don't you give a brief introduction? And I do not see Jerry on the line yet, so hopefully she comes in.
Hi, everyone. I am Samantha Gilbertson. I work for Northwest Resources in Olympia. I am a state certified SUDP and one of the co-chairs for the Firefly Innovations Working Group. I've been doing intensive case management for the last 2 years and have recently gotten more involved with human trafficking and assisting victims in the last 8 months.
Susan, do you want to give yourself a little introduction?
Sure. Good morning. It was a rough morning. I'm just going to give you a heads up. I'll do my best. Life is that way though, right? My name is Susan Kirchhoff. I'm the executive director of the Youth Connection, and I also have clients that I do pretty intensive case management with currently. We are a newer organization that is in right downtown Mason County. And so we see a lot of the topic that we're getting ready to discuss. And what I'm bringing is just my observations of actual lived experiences of what we've seen, and some of my own history.
Thank you so much. And I do see that, Jerry, are you on now? I see her name popping up.
I'm using it as one.
Okay.
We're trying to put this a little lighting around it.
So,
I had a mistake.
first of all, I think CCSWW is
is
still
falling apart.
not muted. So if you
At
could mute
least
yourself,
you have a
and
marriage.
reminder to everyone to mute yourself. And hi, Jerry. What we're doing really quick is just having the speakers introduce themselves very briefly, and then we will move on to Sam's presentation first.
No. She just did some math this morning and then decided to make up.
And Kristen, can you mute yourself?
And then she started to.
Technology is fun, huh?
I
Go
know.
ahead, Jerry.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jerry Muma, and I am Shoshone, Bannock, and Cree. I'm an enrolled tribal member. I live in unceded Nisquallian and Squaxin Island territory. And I am the founder and executive director of Innovations Human Trafficking Collaborative.
Thank you so much. So I am going to share Samantha's presentation. And Malika, were you able to do the speaker?
Yes, it's set up. Yeah.
Okay. And can everyone see the presentation well now that I'm sharing? Okay. And Sam, just tell me when you want me to switch a slide, okay?
Okay. Well, if you want to go to the second slide, since I introduced myself already. Again, my name is Samantha Gilbertson. I am with the Firefly Working Group and co-chair on the Thurston County Human Trafficking Task Force. A little bit of background about Firefly. We started meeting last year as more and more case managers came forward with girls that they had encountered, all reporting the same thing. Similar people, same places, downtown Olympia area and outskirts of Olympia. Since we've started meeting, we've gotten on average, anywhere from 30 to 45 people attending meetings with 25 different agencies involved. Going forward with the meetings, we realized that we really didn't know enough about how to help victims, what to do next once we encounter someone. And that's when we started talking with Innovations in Human Trafficking, Jonah Project, and collaborations were formed. January 1st, we signed an MOU with Innovations and Human Trafficking to start working directly with them to assist victims in getting them out of the lifestyle that they were currently in. Our main area that Firefly works in is the Olympia area within the camps, the hotels, the streets. And we've started doing a little bit more collaboration out in Mason County now too. Our biggest step that we took was signing the MOU with Innovations, because that really opens more doors for our short and long-term goals for Innovations and Firefly working together. Biggest thing, safe house, shelter, providing immediate withdrawal management services to victims, protocol development, knowing what to do when a case manager or a community member comes in contact with a victim. Who do we call? What's the next step? We've also been working with the Jonah Project out of Eastern Washington, and they've actually been present in the Olympia area recently doing trainings with case managers to kind of ease some of our fears moving forward with not doing further harm to a victim and establishing those protocols, knowing what to do. Christina, you can switch the slides.
I'm trying. Okay.
So going over Firefly, the biggest scope of the issue with sex trafficking and exploitation is knowing that there's victims out there and not having the resources to help them, or not knowing what to do immediately for that person when they come to you, disclose something, say that they want help. And we've got case managers in the community that we're at a loss. Right now it's setting up phone trees, reaching out. Jerry's been one of our biggest supporters. We come into contact with someone and she's usually our first call, because she has been doing this for a while. She knows the resources, she knows who to call and how to get our victims safe. Continuing to build relationships in the community and establish these safe places for girls to go to and resources is the biggest thing that Firefly is doing to address what's going on in the Olympia area. As far as what her needs are,
No, she's not. She never does.
She doesn't have them on and then she goes off. and
I
does-
please
just doing it for
mute
fun.
yourself. We're hearing conversations in the background.
My mic
That's all you
isn't,
had to do.
my mic isn't on, is it?
Yeah, your mic.
Yes, your mic is on.
all right. Biggest need for the Olympia area is, like I've said a couple times already, it's where do we take someone when we come in contact with them? How can we ensure that their basic needs are still being met, that we're doing our job as case managers and service providers, not doing any further harm or re-traumatizing the victim, and getting them out of the situations that they're in forming relationships within the community with other providers is going to be the best way that we can accomplish that, and establishing these safe places for girls to go to. And yes, there's DV shelters in the area, but with COVID protocols and screening protocols, it's not an immediate response. Christina, do you want to switch the slide? So the screen that you're seeing, this is the relationships and the collaboration efforts that Firefly has currently made. And it started with us doing a training as Firefly with the Jonah Project. Them coming all the way over from Eastern Washington, enlightening us more on their screening protocols, what they do with victims, how they assist, and us taking pieces from their program and enacting them into our program so that we've got resources, and we started learning that. A lot of the case managers that are in Firefly right now are taking trainings on a regular basis to increase their knowledge and bring that information back to the group, or set up private trainings that we can do with those agencies to help us further assist clients and really make the community aware of what's going on without, again, re-traumatizing or harming the victim in any way. Did you want to switch to the next slide? Jonah Project was one of the first collaboration efforts that Firefly started, and it is a vital resource. They're now currently working with some of our local churches and having regular training sessions through those churches. Their goal is to provide a safe place for us to take victims and help us with establishing or continuing to establish those protocols. And we do have some of the Zoom links on there if anyone wants to write those down. Or if you guys want to email or text me, I can send you those in private as well. Did you want to go to the next slide? I don't really have anything else to share. I know that Jerry's got some more about innovations, and with Firefly being a working group under the innovations, a lot of what we're doing as far as establishing goals and plans, it's following the mission and the statement that innovations already has established, and having their assistance with our working group has been a blessing and has really enabled our case managers to confidently move forward with what we would like to see done as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was a great presentation, and we're really grateful for you to come here today and share with us what Firefly is doing, and hopefully we'll garner a lot more partnerships for for y'all. So our next speaker is Jerry Muma. And Jerry, do you have a PowerPoint presentation?
I don't this morning.
Okay.
I'm just gonna talk.
Great,
I can do that.
fantastic. All right.
Good morning. I introduced myself. Again, my name is Jerry Muma, and I am the founder and executive director of Innovations Human Trafficking Collaborative, also known as IHTC or Innovations HTC. We are part of the Thurston County Family Justice Center. So we are co-located with many different agencies and organizations in West Olympia off of 7th Southwest. And there's a couple of points that I really want to go over. One is I'll be transparent with you guys. Why I started Innovations is I have lived experience. I was lured off of my reservation. I grew up on the Fort Hall Indian Reservation, which is very rural in eastern Idaho. I was rolled off my reservation or lured off my reservation at the age of 13. A guy promised me the world, and it's called selling the dream, and the dream turned out to be a nightmare. And I come from that background of lived experience. I was brutally trafficked all over the nation from 16 till 19. Was finally able to break the trauma bond and get away from him and not go back at 19. And I would love to tell you that was just a few years ago, but I'm quite a bit older. So at 19, law enforcement, didn't have advocates, and I was basically patted on the back and said, now you're free, go forward and have a constitutionally, free, great life. And I wasn't able to do that. He controlled me with narcotic pain pills. And so I had a chemical restraint addiction. And I never had a pimp again, but if there would have been, wraparound services, if there would have been people like Sam and Firefly and like yourself and everybody that's listening that cared when I was 19, it could have saved me, another decade and a half of being involved in the commercial sex trade and being exploited. I filtered in and out of the criminal justice system. I love it when I see on there Mason County Public Health, because historically trafficking and prostitution has been seen through a criminal justice lens, but it is now being seen through more of a public health lens. And we definitely have seen that shift from that criminalization to somebody who needs help and deserves help and needs safety. And I have worked for the last 20 years as a national consultant, doing trainings and technical assistant across the nation for different branches of the US government. And then I'd be not really plugged into my own community, and I'd be driving up or down 4th Street and looking. We I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Tenderloin area in the San Francisco area, but we have a mini Tenderloin going on here. I am getting more and more, I started looking around and seeing more and more of individuals that, appear to have red flags, that they'd be, trafficking or victims of trafficking. So I made the decision to join the Thurston County Family Justice Center in 2017. And we have been doing everything that we can to build partnerships and to bring safety and to bring justice to victims of human trafficking here in our area. Some of our programs that we have, one, we are super excited to be hosting the Firefly Working Group. I'm very excited to, share strategic planning and ideas and resources with the group. We have our first federal grant that we got in 2020, and that is around really bolstering up our Thurston County Human Trafficking Task Force. And Firefly came along at the exact time, and we met and we started talking and had the same vision. And I'm just like, hey, I'll share resources. You guys come on, because I need passionate people that care, and, let's work together. And that's what it really is, because it takes a village. We have a direct client service branch. We just hired a new advocate yesterday. Her name is Betty, and she is amazing. And we're just like, I came on the Firefly Working Group last week saying, hey, I need to place somebody. And I was able to place him at Shraver House, and they got him right in. And just having that team building, collaboration, public health. Let's go up the river. Let's get some prevention. Let's get some primary intervention. Let's get, re-entry intervention. And then let's get safety and support and resources for those that are coming out of trafficking. But I also believe that traffickers and buyers should be held fully accountable to the law, because it is a $150.2 billion a year criminal enterprise. Human trafficking is, and sadly, it is the #2 criminal enterprise in the world. And not all prostitution is trafficking. There's a small segment of society who poverty isn't a mitigating factor. And, they estimate that on a worldwide level to be less than 10% of those in prostitution that feel that they are choosing or have agency. We've been battling some trying to get some legislation pushed through, and some of the stories of things that are coming out of the camp, you cannot tell me that is empowering to have to trade sex for a tent to sleep in or food to eat. I mean, it doesn't have to be money. And we can do something about it, and we are doing something about it. We're coming together. We're we're Indigenous led, we're survivor led. We have the Mariposa Project, which is a survivor leadership program. We want to cultivate the next generation. We have our task force, our working group. We've been blessed with getting Walmart returns, and having big giveaways once a month. And we want to open that up to all the service providers first, for their clients to come and and pick out whatever they need, and then we'll open it to the regular public at like 11 instead of 9, because we get all kinds of amazing things, and we want to share that. One of my gifts is I've been blessed with opportunities to do training and technical assistance, helping to build response protocols. I do a lot of work with tribes locally and across the nation, and tribes are highly at risk with our jurisdictional issues, and Olympia and Mason County and these areas out here, we might think we're a little bit more rural, but we have a underground sex trade that is pimp controlled, that is happening in this area, that we can no longer turn a blind eye to. And that's why we're all coming together as a Firefly working group, the Human Trafficking Task Force, building the response protocol, getting law enforcement trained, finding out what kind of trainings we want to bring. What do we need training on? Burnout and vicarious trauma. How do we create longevity within this incredibly hard work? Because we are dealing with individuals who have not only experienced trauma, but complex trauma, which is repeated trauma over and over again. And you never really know how that is going to manifest. They could be very docile, or they could be the complete end of the spectrum for where they're very combative and, calling you every name in the book, and really difficult to kind of see them as victims at that time. And so that's why we should not be screening for trafficking immediately. We need to be taking care of their immediate needs first. When was the last time you ate? When was the last time you had something to drink? Look at cultural factors. There's different cultural factors around interviewing and eye contact and so forth. So we really need to look through a survivor informed, a trauma informed, and a culturally informed lens when we are creating policies and interacting with victims of human trafficking. And I did have a PowerPoint. It's not really funny, but I left it on my thumb drive in my office and I'm at home. So I don't even have like my contact me page up. So I will be putting our website information and putting our contact information in the chat. And like I said, we have full-time advocacy now. I personally, having lived experience, if nobody else is available, I will respond. I mean, I've been known to sleep in my car with somebody trying to get into detox, and they had to wait. And not saying that that's a good healthy practice, but I see myself in each and every one of them. And if somebody would have came along when I was at 19, when I was quote unquote rescued. And I was patted on the back and said, go on, you know, and have this free life. And I wasn't able to. My mission and my goal in life is to build an army of those individuals that I so desperately needed when I was 19. And I needed when I was 16. I needed when I was 30. You know, 18 isn't the magic number. It's just when the law changes. Anybody engaged in the commercial sex trade under the age of 18 is automatically considered a trafficking victim. Over 18, there needs to be force, fraud, and coercion. But I can tell you that 18, the trauma is no different at 17 as it is at 21. And the only difference is our law changes. We are here to help. We're here to strategize. Please, if you're not being part of our human trafficking task force, I really need more individuals from our law enforcement, from Mason County, from Lewis County, from all different sectors. And I do believe someone can help me. I think we meet the the fourth Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. or the second Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. And I will put the information on the task force and how to get on our listserv in the chat as well. And so if you guys have any questions for me, kind of off the fly, but I hope I was able to explain things somewhat well. And
Yes.
I was gonna tell you, I was pulling up our website and it says that my server has a critical error on my website. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wing it. I'm not gonna have nothing back there. And so anyway,
Well, you did wonderful. And what we'll do, if you want to,
yeah.
so Sam has added the Thurston County Human Trafficking Task Force, which in the next meeting. And if you want to share your PowerPoint slides with the group, you can email it to me and I can send it out. And we will also send out the information for the next Firefly meeting and for the Thurston County Sex Trafficking Task Force. So folks that want to get involved. And thank you so much for speaking these really hard truths and for sharing your story and for just being so honest with what is going on and what you're seeing. And we're really hoping to kind of start that fire and under everyone's butts right now and give folks a framework to be able to, because when, I was talking to all these folks in Mason County, and I'm so glad to see so many Mason folks here. I kept hearing that people wanted to do something, they were identifying this as an issue that they were seeing in their workplace, and they wanted, they recognized that there was a need for something. And so we're very hopeful that this meeting will be that jumping off point to build those networking connections to, introduce people to each other. And so folks feel more equipped when they encounter someone that they think might be a victim, so that they can. And in our questions, we're going to go over a few more of those things of how to do that safely and appropriately. And I'm glad that you said, we don't want to just start asking these questions immediately. We, cultural, we have to be appropriate with cultural and understand the nuances. So thank you for saying that. Yes, Terry.
Oh, and I also wanted to just kind of jump in that I would be more than happy at any time to come back and do a actual training. I do a lot of like human trafficking 101, all the way to survivor panels. I mean, and would just really love to help with a good jumping off point. And just because it says Thurston County Human Trafficking Task Force, it is really, we need to change it. It's our South Sound Human Trafficking Task Force. And I want you to know that just because it's been historically named that, we welcome folks from other counties. We're not an exclusive group. We want you there, and we need you, because human trafficking is a migratory crime, and it doesn't happen in just one area and they stay there. I mean, they migrate all over the place, and that's for many different reasons. But if they're migrating victims around, we need to be talking, because we could be seeing the same person and not know. So please invite me back.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so our final speaker of the day will be Susan Kirchhoff from the Youth Connections. And Susan, do you have a PowerPoint, or are you speaking from the heart as well?
Well, I didn't know I was supposed to do a PowerPoint, so no, I don't.
There's no supposed to. It's only speaker's choice.
I gotcha. So, yeah, I'm just going to share. And I'm assuming that I'm on the screen because I just see you now, Christina, which is okay. So
well, I see everybody. So if anybody else is not seeing Susan,
I don't know. Maybe it's better that you can't see anything but who you're seeing. So my name is Susan Kirchhoff, and I'm the founder, one of the 3 founding people of the Youth Connection. Excuse me. And just for a quick little, I don't come from we are not a sex trafficking organization. The reason I was invited is because we see on the ground what these issues are, and I had shared a few of them. So I just, let me back up. My agency is specifically designed for young people anywhere from 14 to under the age of 25 who just need a place to be. We have 2 drop-in centers, one in Shelton and then one in Belfair. I would encourage you, Jerry, and I just wanted to say thank you for sharing what you shared, but I would absolutely encourage you to change your name to South Sound, because we as Mason County, and I'm anybody who knows me, knows I kind of call it like it is, and I don't really sugarcoat a lot. But when you hear Thurston County, Mason County is the wicked stepchild. And I would be hesitant to get involved with anything that said Thurston County, because I feel like all we get is that little trickle. Not that that's your organization, but it comes with that pre-designed, it's Thurston County, we're just going to get the leftovers. So that's one of my, I would encourage you to do that. And I will absolutely come to your group and see what it's about. I am not, our organization does not focus on sex trafficking, but I will tell you, we have seen it, and we've seen it firsthand. I come from a history of not trafficking, but sex exploitation. I was exploited as a child, as a young adult when I was kicked out at 17. And I shared this with Christine, the word sex trafficking reminds us of your story, Jerry, where you were lured off and then you are sold and trafficked and everything, but there's so much more to it. There's that survival sex where you use it and you trade it because I need a place to stay. And then there's the exploitation, and that's the survival sex is I chose who I chose to sleep. I picked him out. I felt safer with you versus you. Whereas exploitation is they're looking, even in the camps. You want a place to sleep and be safe, you need to have sex with me, and I'll let you in my tent and I will protect you. And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of older men connecting to younger women who are first-time homelessness. and they're now protectors. We see a lot of young men being exploited and literally being beat up in order to being forced to do whatever they have to with either their partner that has decided to be their partner or forcing them to be utilized with other people. So it's not just a woman thing, it's a man and woman, men and men. It's a really, really big thing that we are seeing more and more. I can tell you stories if you'd like of real life, a 48-year-old man with an 18-year-old woman. She felt he was her boyfriend, no matter what we tried to communicate. 3 months into their relationship, he was done with her and basically gave her to a 52-year-old man. And she had no choice. She just felt like she was locked in and we couldn't stop her. And the way that it was manipulated and the way that it was done is she felt she was required to go with this 52-year-old man. We've seen people in the bars on the street because we're right downtown. And some of our young people that are come in our building being called and asking if they're working today. Do you need a fix today? Do you need some food today? In order to go in the alley and do whatever they want them to do. And I'll just tell you, we are really bold and we'll just go, hey, come on in. We got food, we got clothes, we got whatever, and we'll stop it. So at least in that precise moment, we're able to stop it. So for Mason County, the biggest issue, I'm sorry, I have a puppy that we're training to be a center dog, and that was her communicating. Tippy. And she totally threw me off. Sorry. Stop now. Good girl. Mason County, we don't have a lot of resources for this type of behavior. And it's a, because we're so rural, I love that we're hearing it more because I think it was a hidden thing that, oh no, it's not in Mason County. Oh no, it's, we don't see those kind of things here. Well, yeah, you do. Just like our homeless population for youth that are homeless, up until 2 years ago, they didn't believe they had an issue. We do have an issue. And those young people are, and not that our older people aren't the same, but those young people are the targeted population for this type of behavior and that exploitation, that's what they're doing. So I'll be honest, I have no idea what to do other than we just bring them in and we wrap around them as best we can and we try to show them a better lifestyle. We don't have a whole lot of housing, but what housing we do, we've put young people in the best we can. I love that I can call, having these people that I know I can now call if I see something that I feel like I need help with. So that's kind of my story in a quick little nutshell. I didn't have a whole, I'm more than willing to share details or give more information, but that's just kind of us in a nutshell.
Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story and how this relates to you, and for sharing the hardships that you're bearing witness to in the community and for raising that awareness. I think we definitely have some folks on the call today who I'm really pleased to see all of these names of folks I know who, I think I agree with the Thurston Mason, right? So South Sound Mason is always kind of left out, the Thurston Mason. We tend to get the crumbs, agencies will be given funds to provide services in Thurston and Mason, and they just won't come into Mason. So but that's what we're taking with the Safety Net Council, right? It's the Thurston Safety Net Council, but we recognize that our population don't go within boundaries. These are, man-made boundaries. They don't actually mean anything to the folks who are living in the community. And we all travel up and down, all over the place to, see family and to go shopping and to get our needs met. So, we're taking a regional approach here, and these issues cannot be addressed in silos within city limits or within county limits. We need to take a regional approach. And so thank you to all of our speakers today. And we do have A set of questions that we will now start asking. Malika, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to say thank you to all of our presenters. The information that you shared is so great. And thank you, Christina, for summing up. This is a regional, issue. As a person who's done street level work in our region for a long time, it is it is our goal to make sure that we're creating collaboration. And one of the pieces that was as the person who coordinates the Washington State Technical Assistance Team for Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, also known as Let Everyone Advance with Dignity, Mason County and Thurston County both have programs, and LEAD is designed to address issues with people that have profound behavioral health issues, as well as criminal behavior that or law violating behavior that may bring them in contact with law enforcement due to poverty, including the low-level sex trade. And those are both, it's a pre-booking diversion program, and which is very relevant to the populations that we're talking about today. So when law enforcement is encountering folks through LEAD, the policy coordination work group is able to determine what divertible offenses they want to have in a community. And I would encourage everybody that's on this call, if you are not part of your policy coordination work group in your area, to contact the project managers of your LEAD programs in order to see if there's a place at the table for your involvement to be able to be a part of that process. That is one very tangible and concrete way to engage with law enforcement around these particular issues. And also we have an emerging program in Washington State called the Recovery Navigator Program that is based on the LEAD model. It is initially focused on 5476, which was a response to the simple possession decision that was made with the Blake decision last year that found our simple possession statute unconstitutional. And the Blake decision, the implementation of 5476 was designed to address that, but that's just the floor. Every community is going to have a recovery navigator program, and the communities that have LEAD are building upon that foundation and eventually to be integrating the recovery navigator programs into the work that they're doing. And so communities can identify other divertible offenses besides the simple possession with recovery navigator. So even if there isn't a full-fledged LEAD program, there are emerging recovery navigator programs across the whole entire state. And they're being operationalized through the BHASOs, the behavioral health entities that, so, contacting, you can look it up online and find out who your regional BHASO is and reach out to them and contact them if you're outside of an area that has an existing LEAD program. So I just want to thank everybody for participating. We'd also like to open it up to the group. So if there are questions for our presenters, we'd like to do that first. And if nobody steps forward, which is fine, no pressure. We have questions as well that we hope will give people more information.
Could you repeat? I'm sorry, could you repeat that policy? What did you call that policy? Something coordination?
It's Policy Coordination Group, or PCG. The LEAD project manager for Mason County is Abe Gardner.
Yeah.
And it is the project management piece is run out of the Mason County Public Health and Social Services Department.
Thank you.
It is, Abe will be actually moving on to a new position with the North Mason Regional Fire Authority, and Friday is his last day. So I would not actually recommend going to LEAD, but you can contact me and I can get you as soon as there is somebody else who's, do you have something, Malika, to?
No, I was just going to say that they have identified, you already know this because you work with all of them. So, I mean, I was just going to say that they have identified a person that's going to, carry on the work in the meantime until they fill the position. So
yes, and then Olympic Health and Recovery Services is our behavioral health agency that has been working on the LEAD program and will be doing the behavioral health navigator. Mason County already has, we've started our own behavioral health navigator position within the sheriff's office and the Shelton Police Department, in addition to the LEAD program. And now we also have the statewide behavioral health. So Mason County has a lot of things going on. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
And in Thurston County, the Recovery Navigator Administrator is Jason B. Mortensen, who I believe is on this call. Anyway, and Thurston Mason BHA. So sorry, Jason, if I just put you on blast. Oh no, he left. Anyway, yeah, but that is the person that you would contact in Thurston County if you're interested in participating in the PCG, because that is where the divertible offenses are determined. And I'm going to put my info in the chat, so if anybody has any questions. So we'd like to open the floor. So go ahead and raise your hand and unmute yourself. And then if you have a question for our presenters.
Don't everyone speak at once. Well, maybe we should get the conversation started with our set questions that we already have. And then, Jin Moon.
I think that Gina had their hand up first.
Okay.
Either way, it's fine. I have a question directed towards Sam. You'd mentioned in your presentation that the DV shelters that you've been working with are not meeting the immediate needs. And I just would like, being one that represents a turning point in Mason County, what exactly are those immediate needs that aren't being met? Because, we definitely would like to work on that.
We've had multiple case managers try to get victims of both human trafficking and domestic violence into area shelters not in Mason County. And we're being told to schedule an intake that is 3 to 4 weeks out. We've had DCRs attempt to get girls in, and they're told 2 to 3 weeks out. In Thurston County, there is no immediate place to take a victim right now, whether it be domestic violence or human trafficking, unless you have a private agency or organization that's willing to provide funding for a hotel room.
Okay. Well, I really would like to talk with you offline, because that's not the case at Turning Point. We've been maintaining face-to-face services. We have on-call advocates. Our shelter's open. We're not always having availabilities just because of being full, but we do have hotel stays. As a matter of fact, just yesterday we had able to put someone up at a hotel in Tumwater. So we're available. We want to make sure that you're aware of our resources as well as everybody else. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, it's working.
I also would love to be a part of that conversation if I could be tapped in. My question, hello everybody. My name is Jin. I have been working with a few trafficking survivors, and one of the pieces of feedback that I've received that I thought was really amazing and that I would love to talk about is the lack of competent survivor informed and low barrier medical resources for our trafficking survivors and just DV survivors in general too, especially for people who are intoxicated or using drugs and are have higher mental health barriers. And something that seemed like a really wonderful idea was to work on or how do we create more accessible medical care for those survivors who are needing emergency assistance that's beyond just going to St. Peter's, because that it can be not the best time. But yeah, I would love to kind of see if anybody has any ideas, that kind of stuff.
I would second that, what you just said, because I noticed not anyone's jumping in on that. We actually spent 8 hours at St. Peter's trying to get some help based off of there was some sex exploitation involved as well as drugs. And we were, and I will tell you, we have worked with Olympic Recovery, and it just was a nightmare. We spent 8 hours. They kept the person overnight and released them the next morning with nothing, no meds checked, no nothing. So it's an overall issue when you find someone who's been sex trafficked or exploited and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you're to the point where, okay, what can I do for you? And you need that immediate assistance. And I know it's not just a singular, everyone's experiencing it. We're all understaffed, overtaxed. But when you're in that immediate need and you got that person ready to say yes, and they're ready to change their life, having to wait 5 to 8 hours they're done by the time. I mean, we've lost 4 or 5 of them because we can't get somebody to come and help us, and we're not geared for it. So I would love that to be either a future topic or people have answers. I agree with you.
So I'm not on the panel, but I can offer a tad bit of help. If it's not 24/7 availability, it just might, if you happen to encounter somebody in the time that, the services are available, and this is in Thurston County, so it's not super, like the most accessible, but the Olympia Butte or OBC clinic, we offer buprenorphine treatment for people, and we're open every night of the week from 4:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Our practitioners will sometimes stay later, and people walk out with their medication. They walk out with buprenorphine. So that is some withdrawal management that's available for folks. And they see a doctor that night. Like everything happens there's no appointments. They're just open. It's walk in. So people would be able to get some access to medication, at least see a doctor. We're getting ready to expand to do some hepatitis C treatment, and I think we're moving towards being able to do some STI treatment as well. So just wanted to let people know you can definitely do the medication assisted treatment piece though. Okay, so for Bube.
Okay, so can you tell me what I don't know what OBC stands for.
Olympia Butte Clinic. We're in the process of a name change, but it's OBC Clinic, and it's a project of Capital Recovery Center.
Okay.
And we can talk offline, Susan, or actually I'll put the address in the chat for everybody.
And I'd also like to build on that. The Olympia Butte Clinic has the capabilities of doing some outreach in Mason County, and they can potentially send peer recovery case workers into Mason County and meet with people. So that is definitely a possibility. And then we're also, so yeah, if you have somebody who needs, medications for opioid use disorder, or if that is something, we do have an expanding network of things that can be done for that. And then I'd also like to put a plug in too for the quick response team in Mason County, which is the mobile unit through Peninsula Community Health Services. Their model is changing, and I think they're only doing in-person things on Thursdays, but I have been able to utilize them to get immediate medical appointments for people for medications for opioid use disorder, and then also kind of that's that backdoor for primary care. So I hate calling their phone tree. I don't want to wait. If I have a participant in front of me at the syringe exchange, I am not going to wait on hold for half an hour and press all the buttons and do the things. And I can't imagine being on the other end of that. So I use the quick response team. I call them and I say, hey, I have a person and they're vulnerable and they have immediate needs. And we've been able to kind of get things a little bit faster that way.
Love it. Thank you.
Malika, do you still have your hand raised, or so go for it, Jen.
Something that I would love to offer, or something that we at PIPE have been talking about, is to potentially partner with you all at the Butte Clinic or blah, 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 to have a DV or a trained advocate present if wanted and desired, so that there is that kind of wraparound trauma informed care and handoff. So I would, if anyone is interested, I'm here.
Thank you.
Can I respond to something that's in the chat? Telemedicine has some limitations. We do want to be able to bring it to people. However, for the it's not that we can't do telemedicine. It's just that we also need to be able to get the medication to the person. And since we do medication, like the medication is distributed on site. So after that initial appointment, we can do telemedicine and potentially, have it at a pharmacy and stuff like that. But it's kind of like a one-stop shop. That's the reason why first appointments for telemedicine are not always super conducive, because people are not just getting a prescription, they're actually getting the medication. That's in response to you, Steve, to the question.
Are there any other questions for our panelists? All right, well, we have some for you all. So one of our questions was, what is currently being done to support victims or survivors of trafficking in the area? And I think we did kind of cover that. It seems like a lot of the workers just try to get some of the immediate needs to be met and then to coordinate care. We also wanted to know, what gaps can you identify in the current local response to trafficking?
Hi, this is Jerry, and really honestly, our biggest gap is housing, emergency housing. Some people we are not able to put in hotels due to, they've been victimized in hotels, and they don't feel comfortable there, or now we do put victims in hotels, but victims that have active substance abuse disorder, untreated mental health, it's a lot of risk. And if you figure, okay, we've had 3 clients in hotels, each of them we did 10 days each. You figure about $100 a night. We could rent a house for that. And I know that that's not really feasible right now, but our biggest gap is that emergency kind of stopgap where we're working on host homes and different shelters. Like Safe Place hasn't accepted anybody from us in pre-COVID. It's no access. So shelter, I would say, immediate. Also, individuals that have HIN vouchers or other rapid rehousing are unable to find landlords that will rent to them. Many have been criminalized and may have a prostitution charge, or what I like to call fringe charges, maybe, shoplifting or something of that nature. And so we can't get landlords to rent even when they do have vouchers. And it's just been really, really frustrating. I would love to hear any feedback on that, on the housing gap.
So our next question, thank you for that.
Sam has their hand raised.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you. Wanted to answer the question that Christina just asked. And to be honest and completely transparent, the largest gap in Thurston County, I don't want to speak to Mason County because I'm not out there on a regular basis, is the lack of acknowledgement that there is a problem with this topic. Until I encountered my first victim, I had no clue that any of this was even going on in our area and that there were resources for victims available. If this is a known problem in the area, there could be a response protocol already set in place and something already set to assist victims with services that can be the difference between life and death, getting out of trafficking and becoming a survivor.
Thank you.
And this is Jerry again, and that acknowledgement, bury your head in the sand, is something that we really need to get, our local leaders on board as well. I know that right now we are trying to push a bill through for $2 million for services for adults. And we need services for adults, because if somebody wants to leave, there needs to be options. And, honestly, it is the option of the optionless. And we really need to look at how can we help heal a whole person, because I stand here 22 years later, clean and sober, 22 years out of the life in April. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I've vowed to build an army of who I needed at 19. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Jerry. Jen, I see your hand up.
Yeah, you can always tell me to shut up if I'm taking up too much
Oh, no,
space here.
take up space.
But
Go ahead.
Jerry specifically, I would love to know if how it's going with working with the Jonah Project and the 4 churches who are involved in the host homes program right now, and if there's any kind of talk or look into expanding beyond the church world into the larger community to bring host homes to Thurston and Mason and South Sound at large.
Sam, Steve, I think you could answer that a little bit better than I could.
There is talks of bringing host homes to Thurston County and outlying counties surrounding Thurston County. A big piece of that puzzle is getting the people that are going to be involved trained to handle what comes with hosting a victim. Possible medical complications, withdrawal. There's a lot of different factors that come into play with all of this, and making sure that all of those are set up and established before asking someone to open up their home is the first priority, because we don't want to put somebody else in harm's way if we could find alternate places to put a victim.
Yeah, totally.
Hi, Jen. This is Steve. If I may share as well, to answer your question, no, to my knowledge and to the Firefly Working Group's knowledge, there isn't anything going on external to the four churches, and really it's Reality Church in Olympia that is taken lead on this. And we're utilizing the Jonah project's existing model for how to establish host homes to include their training pipeline. As Sam mentioned, it's not an overnight thing. And right now, I think they're at the information sharing and education and awareness stage where Jonah's doing everything virtually with interested members of the local churches to educate them and share some of the risks, some of the hazards, and then also some of the rewards that are beneficial, because the goal isn't to take people from Olympia and put them in Olympia. It would obviously be looking to take people possibly from Spokane and having survivors from Spokane come to Olympia, and then take our survivors from Olympia and send them to Spokane.
Cool, thank you. I'll be at that meeting tonight, don't you worry, but I'll, yeah, I'm excited to learn more.
Susan, go ahead. Susan Kershaw. You have your hand
It
up?
was weird. I couldn't hear you. I could hear anyway. So I was thinking of the gap and what was shared, and Sam kind of alluded, and she said, and I know kind of backtracked a little bit. My brain works that way sometimes. The idea of the word, and I said this once, is when you say trafficking, it immediately thinks of the grab and steal, move you to another country, like the idealism that comes from TV. And so I think that educating people on the broader scope, and Mason County or little rural counties, not just Mason, I think in general, rural counties want to live with their head in the sand. So the gap, there is a huge gap of education and awareness of how big the problem is. Even in our high school, I was thinking when we first started, how many young people, when we were doing our after school program, would share of once we built that relationship, and would share that they were having sex basically with a friend's dad, so the dad they could stay with their friend, you know, and they had to keep it quiet. And to be honest, it was that the age of consent was right there. Like, is that legal or not legal? How is that? Wait a minute, where's my so anyway, we turned a couple in. I'm not gonna lie, we did turn a few in, but those are the stories that you hear that I don't think people understand the broad scope of the underlying shoots from sex trafficking and the whole scope of the sex trafficking word. So that would be, and as to the housing issue, that's everywhere. We are fortunate to have some funding for young people that are under 25, that we can put people in hotels. But we also have other criteria that makes it where we can do that. Hopefully they're homeless, which I know sounds terrible, but if they're homeless, we can attach to so much different funding streams. And so then that changes the dynamics on that. Yeah, anyway, that was just kind of my own take on that.
Thank you.
Our question, I don't see anybody else's hand, so I'm going to ask a question for the panel. What steps do you take to ensure that you're not causing more harm, and how would you recommend others approach the issue with that in mind?
I'll start with this one. So we use harm reduction, trauma-informed care, and all of our case managers are absolutely trained in that. And they're not necessarily, again, I think that the young people that we see have already had other underlying issues that's put them into the place where they're at. So there's other traumas upon trauma upon trauma. So going at it with that as low barrier harm reduction, trauma informed, which is not always the easiest way and the easiest thing to do when you have someone who's strung out on drugs and being belligerent and nasty and telling you to basically fuck off. You don't need to be in my space. I'm fine. And yet we as the people, we see that, and to say, okay, well, you let us know when you're ready. We're here for you. And then we see them go and do whatever they're doing. It's not the easiest practice, but that is what we have to do. And sorry for the F word, but that's the truth of it. That's what we hear all the time. I've been called so many wonderful, lovely names. I just let it roll off me now.
I would imagine that everyone who's at the seat is probably been called lots of things as well. So hopefully we're not too sensitive to take offense to that. So I'm curious on Sam and Jerry's take on this. So one of the reasons I wanted, and we have 6 minutes left, so we want to respect time, but I'm imagining, so I run our syringe service program in Mason County, and I'm imagining having a new participant that I don't have rapport with or maybe it is someone I do have rapport with, and they, in our conversations, I say, hey, I think this person might be being exploited or is being harmed. And I don't have those resources. So I don't want to start asking questions, and I don't want to, get that hero mentality. Oh, I'm going to save this person and ask them these questions, which could actually unstabilize them if I am not prepared to take this person full circle and make sure that we can get immediate care and get them out of that situation where it won't be repeated, because I don't want their exploiter to get mad at them and further abuse them because they try to get out. So what can we do? And I know Kristen Chris, who's the director of the emergency department for Mason General Hospital, is on the line. We were having this conversation. What do we do when we have found somebody and we don't have those resources? How do we not cause further harm? How do we not destabilize them and put them in jeopardy? I think Jeremy is raising there.
So one thing that's worked for me, and Samantha also does this, I do what's called the touch and go method to build the relationship, build the trust. It took, for one young woman, it took about 2 years of actually touch and go and how you doing? Here's a cigarette. Do you need some food? Here's a blanket, to build the trust, especially as a male. It took her a while to realize, hey, this guy doesn't want anything from me. However, it's not just males that are doing this to the survivors. And we need to remember that. And it takes them a long time to develop that trust. And once that trust developed, it's like Pandora's box opened. And I started being told this is happening here and that's happening there. And like Samantha said, I had no clue. So a lot of it is, yes, it's tempting to want to be the knight in shining armor, kick in the door and save everybody. That's not reality. That's going to get people killed. It's about building the trust, learning their cues, and watching their eyes. A lot of the time, they'll tell you just with their gestures, with who's around. Earlier in this meeting, somebody suggested the use of shelters. Samantha, and in case for those of you who don't know, I am the center coordinator here at the Olympia Salvation Army. There was a handful of young ladies that Samantha and I did attempt to safely house here. The problem is eventually they have to go out for a pack of cigarettes or they have to go get this. And the people that are perpetrating these crimes know where they're going to be. There's no secret. So the biggest shortfall we have now is a 72 to 96 hour safe house. That's the biggest thing we need. But as far as the girls the victims will tell you what's going on. They just have to be ready, because like you can really re-traumatize somebody by asking them to talk before they're ready. I've seen it happen. And so a lot of it is take it slow and build the trust. Let them come to you, because if you keep pushing, their walls are so high, you're never going to get through. Show them a little bit, give them a little something, show them they can trust you. and then follow through with it. If you tell them you're going to meet up with them or get them their favorite peanut butter and chocolate or whatever, follow through. Make sure you keep your word, because it's all about the trust. Once the trust is there, then the healing can start. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Kind of want to go off both what Jeremy said and what you said, Christina. The biggest thing working with the survivors, victims, is not trying to practice as a professional out of your scope of expertise. I utilize motivational interviewing techniques and trauma-informed models. It's like Jeremy said, not pushing someone. Make sure basic needs are met first and foremost. And when they're ready to talk, let them talk. Don't pressure any interaction with law enforcement, turning their perpetrator in. It causes them to run the other way. With the girl that me and Jeremy worked with for 2 years, it was consistent phone calls, whether that was a 10-minute phone call or a 15-minute phone call. And when she called, I made sure I picked up, because it could be that time to where she's in a situation to where she needs immediate help, and it is life or death. Consistency and doing what you say you're going to do with these victims is what I found to be the most important.
Oh, thank you for that. I just wanted to jump in really quick. And one of the kind of mottos that we have within the organization is that we under promise and over deliver. So by that, I mean, if you say you are going to be able to get somebody into a hotel, or get them a gift card or whatever it is, you better make darn sure that you have that put into place before you tell them. And really the goal, especially on outreach, is not to get somebody to self-identify. The goal is to engage them into programming and let them know that you're there and that you care and that there's options. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's responses. Malika, did you want to interject before we wrap things off? Okay, I feel like we could keep talking and talking and talking and talking about this, but we are at time for the end of the meeting, and we want to respect everyone's time, especially our speakers. So just a big heartfelt thank you for our panelists, to Jerry, to Samantha, and to Susan, for sharing about the very important and very difficult work that you do, for sharing your personal stories and your personal connections. Thank you for tactfully sharing the stories of the people that you're working with, so we can elevate this and bring awareness to everyone. I want to thank everyone who's showing up to this meeting to learn more. And I think, Jerry, Mason County has a opioid stakeholder meeting, and I think that it would be really great to have this topic be brought up, because we know that sexual exploitation and trafficking go hand in hand with folks with substance use disorder and mental health and larger behavioral health challenges. So any last words before we wrap up?
I would love to join that meeting. Any meetings that you think that, the task force or the Only South Sound trafficking specific only organization needs to be involved in. We're there. I am going to, we'll take a vote at our next meeting, but I really think that we should change our name to the South Sound Human Trafficking Task Force. I don't want Mason to feel like you're getting the crumbs or the leftovers. You're a very important part. And yeah, I want to say thank you. You hear our office emotional support animal in the background, and he's very spoiled but loved. And I just want to thank you guys for making me feel so welcome. I would love to be on the invite list for continued meetings. And you know, I just want to tell you Katsuyaya, which means thank you, and I'm raising my hands in honor for the invitation, the partnership, and being part of that village that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Go forth and have a good day. All right.
Have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Did you stop the recording?